Don't you tell me the same things over again, 'cause I'm not gonna wait for you. I'm tired of hearing the same old line. Your crazy excuses are not worth a dime. I'm gonna go where I'm going, do what I do. Don't need your loving, I've found someone new. Don't you tell me the same things over again, 'cause I'm not gonna wait for you. Don't you tell me the same things over again, 'cause I'm not gonna wait for you. You've broken each promise that you ever made. A beautiful rainbow has started to fade. I've got a lump in my throat, a pain in my heart. The lies that you told me have torn us apart. Don't you tell me the same things over again, 'cause I'm not gonna wait for you no more. I'm not gonna wait for you. That's Don't You Tell Me the Same Things Over Again by Godfrey, the composer, but made famous by the great Arthur Godfrey. And Arthur Godfrey was a very important figure in the popularity of the ukulele in general, and in particular the baritone ukulele. In his TV show in the 50s, people would buy the plastic TV Pal soprano ukulele to play along with Godfrey on his show. And he also had the Vega Company make him what he called a solo lute, which was really just a big ukulele tuned lower. It was a baritone ukulele. Was it the first? Well, the Favilla Company might disagree with that, but certainly around that time the baritone uke came into existence. I'm going to teach you how to play this song on the baritone ukulele in the style of Arthur Godfrey. And I'm playing a very modern baritone ukulele. So Arthur Godfrey was playing possibly one of the first baritone ukuleles, and this Kloss baritone ukulele is all carbon fibre and super modern. So we're going from the origins of the baritone ukulele to the sort of latest high-tech iterations of it. You'll probably want to download the PDF to go with this. It's got all the chord inversion diagrams on it, and the lyrics and the chords and the timing and everything. You can get that from the link below, and if you can't find the link below, just go to learntheukulele.co.uk and look up the baritone ukulele lessons on there. The song has an introduction and then 2 verses, and the verses are exactly the same except for the very end, where he does a little tag ending where he repeats the last line and then plays some higher up chords, which I'll show you when we get to that bit. And in the second verse he does play one chord inversion differently to the first verse, so I'll show you that. You don't have to do it, but for the sake of completeness I've put it in there. Let's have a look at the intro. The song is in the key of F, but it doesn't start with an F down here. It starts with an F barring the 5th fret and playing, well, what looks like with those 2 fingers a bog standard C chord down here, but played with your 2nd and 3rd finger. The index finger replaces the nut, and we slide up to the 5th fret, and we have a bar of that. Then we have an F diminished 7 and another F diminished 7, and that's because if you slide up a diminished 7 chord shape 3 steps, you get another inversion of the same chord. So we have 6, 7, 6, 7, and if we take that up 3 frets, we have 9, 10, 9, 10. They're both F diminished 7th chords. Then we have a C7, which is a bar at the 5th fret and your 2nd finger on the 6th fret of the E string. We slide that whole thing down 1 fret to give us a B7, then back up again, and then we put our little finger down on the E string at the 8th fret, which would just give us a C chord, but we're going to take our 2nd finger and put it on the 6th fret of that low D, which gives us a C augmented, and that sets us up nicely. When we've played that, we're immediately going to sing Don't You, because the main part of the song, the first beat, is on the word tell. So this is the intro. I'll put something else in as well. You don't have to do it, but after that first chord, Arthur Godfrey goes down the neck a little way and then slides up to that first diminished chord and then slides up to the next one. The intro will sound like this. There might be some chord inversions here that you're not familiar with, and as I say, these are the ones that I think, as far as I can tell from the footage, that Arthur Godfrey is playing. If you want to play different ones, that's entirely up to you. But we're going to start, as Arthur did, up here at the 5th fret, with that F chord that we started the intro with. The next proper chord is a D7. But he does this little slide, and that means he ends up with an E flat 7, which is just the D7, 1 fret higher, and then that slides down to the D7. But these might be slightly unfamiliar chord shapes. So let me show you how they work. The F is barred at the 5th fret, and what we're going to do is, if we ignore the 7 on the E flat 7 and the D7 and just play an E flat and a D, it will all become clear. If I slide that shape down from the 5th fret to the 3rd fret, that's an E flat, and one more to the 2nd fret, that's a D. So that's what's happening. But I've got to make the E flat and the D into a 7th. So without changing the shape, I'm sliding it down. I'm just going to add my little finger on. So F, 2, 3. On beat 4, we slide down 2 frets, but we take our little finger and put it on the 6th fret of the G string. And that will give us the shape we have there for E flat 7. Then we slide that whole thing down, and that's our D7. That's probably the trickiest bit, getting that little finger to go where you want it to, and finding the right fret and sliding. But once you've got that, the rest of the song is not difficult at all. So we have this, 1, 2, 3, 1. That's the D7. Then we have a G7 barred at the 3rd fret. So we're not playing open strings in any of this. In fact, there are no open strings in this tune the way Arthur Godfrey played it at all, which is great because it lets us control these chords instead of having them all ringing out everywhere. So our G7 is going to be bar the 3rd fret, put your 2nd finger on the 4th fret of the G string, and another bar of G7. That's the first line. Then we have a C9. Now you could play a C7 here, but I can see that Arthur Godfrey is going for this kind of shape, which is 2nd fret on the D string, and then the other 3 fingers are playing the 3rd fret on all of the other strings. 2, 3, 3, 3. A C9 is just a slightly jazzier sounding C7. It does the same job. So then we have that C9, again for 2 bars. Count of 4, another count of 4. Then we go back to the G7 that we had a moment ago for 1 bar, 1 count of 4, and then back to the C9 again for 1 count of 4. So that's the first half of the tune. Let's put that all together and sing the first half of verse 1. Don't you tell me the same things over again, 'cause I'm not gonna wait for you. I'm tired of hearing the same old line. Your crazy excuses are not worth a dime. That's the first half of verse 1 and of verse 2, because with a couple of little tiny changes, they're exactly the same. Right, then we go into the second part, and we're going to have an F7, but we're not going to be playing an F chord up here like we did before. We're going to play an F7 down at the 1st fret. In fact, it's the same shape as the G7, but down at the 1st fret. So we have a bar of F7, then a B flat, bar the 3rd, and put your little finger on the 6th fret of the E string. Then we have the G7 we had before at the 3rd fret, and the C9 we had before. And the last line is just really restating the first 2 lines of the song. But rather than doing it like he did at the beginning, this time he doesn't have that slide from the E flat to the D. He just goes from F to D7, and he plays different chord inversions. He plays an F down here at the 1st fret, a D7 here. Now, we've not had this one before. This is a 4-finger D7 shape. So you really want it to look like a C chord. If you start off with your first 2 fingers as a C chord and then slide them up 2 frets, then these 2 fingers just have to fill in on the 5th fret the strings that you're not already playing with your first 2. That's our D7 for a bar. And then back on familiar territory, we have half a bar, 2 beats of the G7, the C9, and an F, but now an F down here. Okay, so now let's do the whole of verse 1. Don't you tell me the same things over again, 'cause I'm not gonna wait for you. I'm tired of hearing the same old line. Your crazy excuses are not worth a dime. I'm gonna go where I'm going, do what I do. Don't need your loving, I found someone new. Don't you tell me the same thing over again, 'cause I'm not gonna wait for you. And then, before starting the song again, he slides up and goes to the other F that we started the whole song on. Then he does the whole thing again for the second verse. There are 2 slight differences. At the very end, which we'll deal with in a moment, and you don't have to do this, but when he gets to the first incidence of a C9 chord, you've broken each promise that you've ever made. He actually doesn't play the C9 down there, but he plays a C7 up here, like the one in the intro, barring at the 5th fret. You can do that if you like. I'll do that this time round. Everything else is the same. So we're at the end of the first verse, 'cause I'm not gonna wait for you. Slide up. Don't you tell me the same things over again, 'cause I'm not gonna wait for you. Here's that different one. You've broken each promise that you ever made. The rest the same. Our beautiful rainbow has started to fade. I've got a lump in my throat, a pain in my heart. The lies that you told me have torn us apart. Don't you tell me the same thing over again, 'cause I'm not gonna wait for you. And at this point we have a tag ending. And a tag ending is just where you loop back and repeat that last line. So we're going to go back, and you can see on there, when we get to Not Gonna Wait For You No More, I play a D7, which is just the same as the D7 on the line above on the lyrics. And that sets us up to play another G7, C9, F and sing I'm Not Gonna Wait For You. With the tag ending, you'll get this. Don't you tell me the same things over again, 'cause I'm not gonna wait for you. D7, I'm not gonna wait for you. So that F becomes half a bar and half a bar of D7. Repeat, not gonna wait for you. And then right at the end, just to finish it off, Arthur Godfrey does an E flat 6, an E6 and an F6, which you don't have to worry about the names. It's just 8th, 9th and 10th frets barred all the way across with 1 finger. So that final tag ending was going to sound like this. Don't you tell me the same thing over again, 'cause I'm not gonna wait for you no more. I'm not gonna wait for you. There you have it. Baritone ukulele in the style of Arthur Godfrey. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.